is back. All right, so we're gonna start with a grip chaining drill and also be able to heist here, okay? But we gotta go over what our main goals are. We need to be having control of our opponent's hips at all times. That can be just kind of having your feet on both sides here, ready to engage if he pressures forward, okay? Now, I usually don't want my hands on the bottom. I always want them on the top, and I want to be having two hands on my partner at all times, okay? We're going to start with a collar tie and inside control of this far arm, anywhere from the hand up to the shoulder, okay? Now, I can get any grip. It doesn't matter. I can even just use this grip, and I want to try to get Joel's hands onto the mat, okay? And also, I'm going to be switching between grips. If he's starting to strip grips off of his head, I can switch to the other arm. I'm just trying to use my gripping and also my body to get his hands onto the mat. But I don't want to just solely focus on that because he can be super cagey and just be standing here and fighting. The best move that you can use as the person on the bottom is threatening a heist. So if you feel like you can't get a grip immediately, have one hand on your partner, one hand on the mat, and trying to heist, okay? If you're able to get to neutral standing, that's a win for you on bottom. All right, so that puts the pressure on Joel to always be pressuring into me and keep me into the mat, okay? So my usual strategy here is if I can't get a grip immediately, I'm starting to heist, because what does Joel have to do to keep me down? What do you have to do? Yeah, you got to put your hands on me. You got to keep pressuring forward, because I could just keep pressuring forward into him, okay? So what Joel will do this time is he's got to pressure into me, okay? And as you see, this is what allows us to get grips, okay? You also can threaten sweeps when they pressure forward. So if I come here and he starts to dive into me, I can start to threaten a sweep, which will either get him to his hip or make him post his hands on the mat, which allows me to get grips in any way, okay? So use your gripping. Always be trying to get your opponent's hands to the mat. There's no win conditions there. The only way you can win as the person on bottom is if you're able to heist, okay? Top person, you're always trying to keep your opponent on the mat with forward pressure. You can win with a body lock or getting into half guard and getting your opponent flat, okay? So bottom person, if they're here and they're not pressuring forward, just heist immediately. And then that puts pressure on the next round, pressure into you immediately, okay? Does that make sense? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Always trying to win your grip exchanges. If people are getting body locks right off of the bat, probably because you're not monitoring the hands very well, okay? So you gotta be controlling here on the inside, not allowing them to win on the grips, okay? So usually, I try to see what my partner's doing. If he's not pressuring forward, I'm immediately trying to stand, okay? Especially if they're just grip fighting. It doesn't take a lot of skill to win that grip fighting because he's got gravity and height working with him, okay? So for that heist, he's got to reach for me and pressure in, okay? Good, all right? So when he's doing this, that opens up opportunity for off balances or just getting a grip, okay? So if I did all that to get to an overhook, that's perfect, okay? Whereas like trying to get the overhook from here when he's grip fighting is very difficult, right? So one thing that we also want to try is getting our opponent's hands to the mat, because now we can start to get claw grips, okay? We can use any grip to get claw grips, but his hands have to go to the mat first. For example, an arm trap, I come through and I get a claw grip, okay? Obviously, if I can go straight to an underhook, that's great, but most likely what you're going to have at first is a claw grip, okay? So we're going to start, we're going to drill getting our hands to the mat and getting a claw grip and having a collar tie, okay? I would not wait for the defense here, okay? So as soon as the resistance happens, try to get his hands to the mat over your head. The way I'm going to do is I'm going to pull myself underneath his hips and pull him on top of me so that way he has a post on the mat above my head. Now, as you see, I can get a close connection around the shoulders. Fairly easy, okay? But after a couple times of that, you go to pull in and he's really pulling back. If you don't feel like you can do anything productive with this claw grip, we're heisting, okay? So that should be your strategy soon to get a claw grip, okay? Claw grip, if you feel like you can get to an underhook with this, do it, okay? If you don't feel like you can get to it, we're looking to heist, okay? So if he's pulling back, I'm looking to cup, and then that puts him in the dilemma again. Does he reach forward? I can immediately go back, get his hands to the mat, and now we got close connection around the shoulders, okay? Another option is I'm here, and he's really tucking that elbow to that knee, making it hard to get, even if I got connection with the hands, as you see, it's not a good underhook. But he brought his near side shoulder in to make that more difficult, meaning I can switch to this shoulder here. So if you're having trouble with one side, switch to the other, okay? Our goals as the person on bottom is to get close connection around the shoulders. So that could be high underhook, shoulder crunch, double underhooks, or as you saw, overhook, okay? If you can't do any of those things, if you can heist and get top close connection around the shoulders, that's a win too. Or if you just heist to neutral, that's a win. So close connections around the shoulders, either from the bottom or the top, or standing to neutral. Person on bottom, you gotta win by getting your partner flat with a body lock or in half guard. Go ahead and lock a body lock. This doesn't count. It's gotta be under both elbows. Okay? So if they have this, you're continuing to go. If I'm able to win that exchange, great. If he flattens me out and then gets that grip out of the way, that's a win for him. If he gets the half guard, that's a win for him. Okay? Any questions? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. We're going to take a step back to the collar tie and inside control of this far side arm. Okay? We're always looking to get claw grips because as you can feel, it can lead to pretty good things, all right? But it's not easy, okay? So your strategy here is to use whatever grip that you have to force hands onto the mat, okay? And then it's claw grip or heist, okay? If you can't get grips, or they're being super cagey, start to threaten the heist. Even if you can't get all the way up, he's in a dilemma now. If he does not immediately pressure forward, you get up, and that's a win, okay? We're gonna try to change the culture around here a little bit, okay? It's not top versus bottom, okay? It's hard to get people onto the mat. So if they're not pressuring forward and lift you up, that's perfect, okay? You don't have to be great at wrestling to stand up, okay? Basically, we're gonna stand up and get grips and then set back down to a guard, okay? We're not free setting the guard, all right? So that'll make sense when we get to that in the next section, okay? But our goal here is to get our partner's hands on the mat and get claw grips in any way, okay? Usually whatever shoulder is closer is the easiest one to get the claw grip, okay? But for whatever reason, if that's not working, I'm looking to heist, okay? Because then that puts the pressure on Joel to dive into the essentially. Whenever that happens, remember, don't forget that you can threaten sweeps. All right, because you see, I can just hold my butt and they have a grip. What will be a little bit easier, go ahead and pressure in, is a threatening sweep right off the mat. Because if he doesn't open his hands out really wide to stop that sweep, okay, he's going to fall. And that allows me to get him. All right? So if you watch the highest levels competing, that's what they do. They threaten off balances in whatever way, force their opponent's hands to the mat, and that's when they're upgrading their grip. Okay? So, same goals as prior. Trying to get close connections around the shoulders. Trying to heist. Okay? Sound good? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. On any particular grip because they're not super reliable. Okay? You're going to have a grip for a few seconds, and then it's going to turn into a new grip. Okay? Or the grip is going to break off completely just because of the sweatiness of our sport. We don't have the reliability of grips, okay? So just going out there and learning a 2-on-1 for a month is almost kind of a waste of time because you're gonna have it for 2 seconds, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start to work with each of them individually for a few minutes, and you're gonna kind of chain them all together, okay? Especially when you have collar tie. I always recommend trying to go for collar ties first because as you see, it's a good control to help me start to stand, and also I got my humerus as a frame too when he starts to pressure back in, okay? But first one that's probably going to come off of this is a 2-on-1 elbow, okay? And that can happen in whatever way, just me switching to this far side arm, or if he's starting to peel off the grip. This is usually the easiest time that I get this. When they go to peel off that grip, I immediately grab the wrist and I have the elbow here, okay? Now, what we can do with this, you can be multi-directional with this completely. We can start to push, all right? So pushing this grip off and messing with his base in whatever way and getting his hands to the mat, okay? If I can get out the back door behind the elbow, that's always going to be preferred, okay? But if that's not going to work that way, a lot of times you're going to start to pass this way and he's going to pressure into you, okay? So you can use this grip to make him post on the mat in whatever way. Now, as you see, I can switch to a claw grip on this side, or shift the other direction for either a sweep, or he resets his base that direction, and now I have a high underhook, okay? So we're going to start with 2-on-1. I recommend starting to pass by or pulling it on top of you. You can also upgrade this grip by going in as deep as possible, and if you switch to a palm facing away, you can do a reverse Kimura grip here. I don't recommend grabbing your wrist, it's not strong enough. Basically, if you can get this grip to your elbow to your chest, you can punch into here as you try to yank your arm out. As you see, it's a much more secure grip. Now I can start to threaten sweeps towards this direction, and I can heist with this. That's what I feel like is the best option to do with the reverse Kimura, is heisting with it, because you can stick this in the mat. Now as you see, we can win head height. Okay? So start with this grip. If you lose it, that's okay. All right? Just immediately go back to your collar tie or whatever best grip that you can. Force hands to the mat. Claw grip. Heist. Same objectives as before. Get connections of the shoulders in whatever way you can. Okay? Sound good? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Work with another one. My personal favorite, the arm drag grip. Okay? So we can get this in many ways. Straight off of our collar tie, switching to this far side arm. Okay? It could be off of the 2-on-1. You have this here, and you upgrade to this grip. Okay? It's essentially same side has control of the wrist, cross side has control of anywhere from the elbow to the armpit. I recommend the deeper, the better, okay? Now obviously we can start to drag and get on the outside of the elbow here, and that's always preferred, okay? But against resisting opponents, unless if you're hitting it in transition, that can be difficult. So don't forget that you can use this as a grip to pull them on top of you and force their hands to the mat. Gordon Ryan's really good at using this, okay? So he gets this collar tie and he pulls the shoulder and himself on top. And then from here, he can either start to threaten sweep, or if they post their hands above the mat, above your head to kind of mitigate that, that's what allows him to get underhooks in connection to the shoulders, okay? If you're trying to get on the outside of the elbows, don't think that you're just going to be able to do it by dragging like this. There's way too much freaking space. We have resistance here, okay? This only works if you're drilling. So you need to really disrupt your opponent's base by kicking out legs and trying to get on the outside, okay? And a lot of times, you gotta connect your opponent, heist, and then you start to work back there, okay? So our goals is to get connection to the shoulders from the bottom or to the top, and that could be in any way. It could be front head, it could be behind the elbows on the back, okay? You can use this to sweep. You can also use it to upgrade your connection. And again, if you're having a hard time because they're staying back, you can always heist, okay? Any questions? Let's do it. Top person wins with a pass this time, okay? So bottom person, something to think about. If you're starting to lose the connection battle, okay, let's say he's starting to get a body lock of some sort, I need to be thinking retention first, and then I can start to go back to my grip button, okay? Sound good? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Do here is 2-on-1 wrist, okay? This one's actually easier to get than what you would think and easier to control than what you would think. Now, of course, we can go out and do 2-on-1 wrists with our palms facing down. I feel like this one is easier to break than 2-on-1 with our palm facing up, okay? It might be pretty hard to kind of get right off the bat. A lot of times, if I'm having trouble getting grip, I'll come into half guard, and then they'll be more likely to reach for me, and then now I can start to get this wrist here, okay? But from half guard, there's not a lot that I can do with controlling the far side of the arm. So what I would do here is I'd switch to butterfly guard, and now I can start to use this as a pulling grip, okay? And as you see, I can start to work control of either arm. I'd recommend going for the other arm because as soon as I let go and try to go for this arm, he's immediately pulling back and tightening his elbow. So we can get a claw grip on the far side or the near side as well. And then now we can get connection of the shoulders any way possible, okay? You can get it from open too, of course. So say he's reaching for my head and I get this grip here, okay? You can do pulling, dragging in any direction. Any of these grips, be multi-directional with. Don't think just one direction, okay? So I can pull on top. I don't feel like he's close enough, so I'll pass it to the side. And as you see, now is when we can start upgrading grips with it. I went from 2-on-1 wrist to 2-on-1 elbow, okay? If I did the other side, I'll probably get an arm track grip. And then I pull him on top of me again, and now I get a claw grip. And now we can start to chain everything together, as you see, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start, let's experiment with this time. Let's go to half guard with a knee shield, 2-on-1 wrist here on the far side. What I want you to do is not stay on the same side. I want you to work back to butterfly guard, come either to open or just immediately start pulling him on top, okay? If you're having trouble getting connection, start to pass it a certain direction. Now as you see, I'm upgrading my gripping, okay? Does that make sense, please, bud? All right, so what I want you to do, start in half guard, knee shield, 2-on-1 wrist with the far side arm, okay? Same goals as before. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, right? But the concepts that you want to pull from here is always be upgrading your gripping and off balancing your opponent. So that way that you can upgrade your grip. You're not just going to go out here and win grip battles by just doing this with somebody. Because then it's basically patty cake after a bit, right? Because he's doing the exact same. We're sweaty, we're slipping, okay? That's not going to work, all right? If you can't off balance your opponent, start to heist, okay? My general strategy, what I recommend to everybody, is if you can't get a grip immediately, start to heist. That should be your jab, because he has to commit everything after that. If he doesn't, if there's essentially what to feel for, put your hands on your opponent. If they aren't actively pressuring forward, you're heisting, okay? So as soon as go to here, because now we're in a position that we can start to stand and go towards Joel to start to get our grips, okay, which we'll get into next, all right? So don't forget your off balances with either your gripping or your sweeping, okay? And you can do a mixture of everything. So I'm here, I try to sweep, I'm trying to heist, he pressures back in, I sweep again, I get a grip, and as you see, I'm here. He pulls that grip out, I switch to another grip. I'm upgrading here, all right? He's giving me trouble. I pull him on top, with this grip, I did all that to get to this, okay? And that's what it's gonna look like against people that are more experienced than you. You're not gonna go out there and immediately get an underhook or get your sweep. It's not gonna happen. You gotta chain everything together, okay? Any questions or any issues with this stuff? We'll start to play with it and see how it goes. We're gonna start with the samurai rounds. You're gonna have a collar tie, inside control of the far side arm. Remember your strategy. If they're not immediately pressuring into you, start to heist, okay? And if they do pressure into you, that's when everything kind of changes together, all right? It's gonna be sweep, submit, or pass, all right? Sound good? 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.